Greetings everyone, welcome back to Lutz, where a familiar horn and headlight is rounding the corner into view. In the past month or so, I've been able to make it trackside a bit more than usual, with a few instances being along the Brooksville sub and a night on the S-line. Recent articles about the biodiesel locomotives that have established themselves as the almost full-time power for our Brooksville local has re-piqued my interest in them, and explains why 3 out of the past 4 Tuesdays I've driven out to Lutz to catch them at a few usual spots. Starting with the scene that we've been seeing since 2019, CSX 7264 leads L781 past McDonald's, notching up their normal-sized train into town, with their first customer being just 4 miles north of us at Pasco Iron and Metal. The stickers on the sides of these locomotives have become commonplace ever since they began running in the area around this time last year. In February 2023, CSX began a test of 10 of these 20% biodiesel-fueled rebuilt engines, specifically in the Tampa area. With orders to be filled with biodiesel fuel, or B20, for the next 3 years, the engines have to stay close into Tampa, as because of their special fuel, a trucking company called Velocity can only serve them, and they get their materials from the Port of Tampa. With an exception for servicing in Waycross, these 10 units are to be strictly used on Tampa locals, like the L781, led this night in early January by 7264 once again. The testing is part of CSX's overall program to be more eco-friendly with their usage of fossil fuels. B20 is different from standard diesel fuel, as instead of being made with petroleum, it's made with biomass oils like recycled soy or canola oil. Overall, more sustainable and a lot better for the environment. CSX plans to begin the conversion of many CM44s to biodiesel compatible around 2026, as long as the 10 test engines in Tampa continue to function properly. 1 year into the testing, and I think I can safely say these engines seem to be running just fine, as CSX 7502 leads the latest installment of L781, filmed at County Line Road in Lutz. I bet you noticed the smashing of dozens of rocks on the crossing when the engines passed. A dump truck with a small hole in its side is to thank for that, spilling tons of gravel along the road and evidently onto the tracks. This does answer a frequently asked question though: what happens to trains when they run over rocks? Nothing. The plow just gets a little dusty. The week before, my friend Dakota and I would take a night to track down some trains on the S-line around Brooksville and Wildwood, starting with a drive out east from Lutz, 20 miles to Zephyr Hills. First hit would be at Dade City, where we'd pull in just south of the South End signals, as a high green would be lit for a northbound. Although Dade City has become a favorite spot of many rail fans, I still enjoy the area for its hills and fields and overall topography. Even with the busy US 98 paralleling the tracks here, there are still some very quiet moments, like the few seconds of silent anticipation before a train rounds the corner. Rolling through the sunset tonight would be nightly stack train IO44 out of Tampa, today getting an early start and using every bit of track speed through town. Going on duty at 1600, IO44 would only have a couple of cuts to assemble prior to their departure from Uceda Yard in Tampa. This and the early Amtrak 92 today would help this train show up just before twilight, 6:05 p.m. North of Dade City, a mere 6 miles, is the south end of Lakuchi Siding, or at least where it once was. Here at the Mickler Road crossing, the siding track has been cut and ripped out feet before the road, buffered by a couple of old ties. No longer is this the south end of the siding, although the signal still remains here and surprisingly lit. According to managers at CSX's Jacksonville headquarters, the north end will stay operational in order to continue to utilize the siding track for storage. With the St. Catherine double track to the north and the 3-mile-long Dade City siding to the south, Lacucci was rarely used. In fact, from April to October of last year, a cut of intermodal well cars were stored here, almost guaranteeing the end of the 7,000-foot siding. Hearing chatter on the radio around Wildwood, we'd push north to the next stop with somewhat decent light, as coming south a solid 7 hours later than usual would be M453, Waycross to Miami manifest freight. We'd set up on the curve in Bushnell as 453 would roll south with a YN2 AC44 leader. A holdup in Baldwin would delay the train for a handful of hours, pushing back its arrival to Central Florida from its normal mid-morning time slot. Next stop would be Wildwood, where the yard office would be getting cleaned and a fresh cut of ballast cars were stored. As most of you probably already know, CSX has completely revamped their dated Wildwood facilities through restoration of the old Seaboard yard office. Seeing a couple dozen trains pass by on the main line every day, the small yard is almost always full now, with 2 locals serving the area, one during the day and the other at night. This day, neither would run, as it is Friday and a rest day for the 2 Sunday through Thursday locals. However, there'd still be action, hence the high green signal on track 1 looking south. Line through would be nightly hotshot IO45, today with a short train, making good time to Tampa.
CSXT IO4526, locomotive 7029's got a clear signal, Wildwood, southbound, track number 1, IO4526 out.
CSX detector, milepost 756.8, no defects. Repeat, no defects. Total axles 176. Detector out.
CSXT IO4526, locomotive 7029, got a clear signal, turnpike, southbound, track number 1, IO4526 out.
Meeting the 45 around Vitus would be a northbound up from Lakeland, calling as M604. This train and its southbound counterpart, M603, have been abolished and reinstated a few times in the last couple years, and with the creation and extension of trains L743 and 729 in and out of Florida, it seemed unlikely that the 603 and 604 would ever return, yet here we are in January 2024 with an M604-26 line through. Going on duty around 1800, the train has become a nightly staple around here, passing anywhere between 8 p.m. and midnight. He'd be running at a normal time today, passing us at Wildwood just before 9:30. 604 would be pretty large tonight, with a nice 4 locomotive lash up and about 10,000 feet of train behind. Rock from Mulberry and Davenport would make a large section of the manifest, with boxcars from Park Spur and phosphate products from the Bone Valley making up the rest. With nothing in the vicinity after 6:04, Dakota and I would start heading south and ultimately towards home, using US 301 to do so. Because of this, we'd start seeing green signals through Bushnell for our northbound, finally pulling off at Dade City around 10:15. Rolling north under the light of a full moon would be I-17826, intermodal out of the Winter Haven Logistics Center, bound for Jacksonville and its Duval ramp. It pleases me to say that the S-Line is slowly getting busier, our short 5-train night being an example of such, as between daily guaranteed trains and the amount of unit trains we've been getting, things can get fairly interesting now. I hope to get out more often too, as with my schedule finally winding down, I'll have more time to be trackside, and there's always things to see. But until that day comes, I'll see all of you around somewhere trackside. This is Christian from Multicolor Films, end of transmission.